Am I live? Am I live? Yeah, I'm live. Okay, so what's up, people? Grand Rising on this Thursday, uh, June 23rd. It's 10:33 Eastern Standard Time. And what I'm going to be talking about today is something that I saw just last night. It kind of goes into what I was talking about previously when discussing dysfunctionality in the Black community. So I watched this Netflix special, right? It was called You Don't Know Me. And let me just preface this thing. It was really good. Um, I think the characters were pretty much people that you could probably relate to in your own life. The guy, specifically the main character, um, he reminded me of somebody that I know personally in real life. Like just his whole attitude to dealing with the situations that he was in. And let me just preface this by also saying that I'm a big film guy, music, production. So from the perspective of entertainment, it was very entertaining. However, let me break it down for you. I would say that you should see it. It's called You Don't Know Me and it's on Netflix. Let me say that when you're watching something like this, you have to look at the entire storyline and see what it is that they're really telling you. So here's the story. It's about a guy, black guy, and a girl. The guy meets the girl on a bus. He's attracted to her, tries to get to know her, meet up with her. They finally connect. They have a relationship, right? For some odd reason, she goes missing, and this is where things just take a turn. So I don't want to really spoil it, but probably I have to, and for me to discuss it properly. So, long story short, when he meets this girl, he doesn't know anything about her, right? Which is how it is when you normally meet somebody. You don't know much about them, but you should ask a lot of questions. You need to know who this person's family is, who their friends are, um, the immediate family, like what they're into, and he didn't do any of these things. So the girl has a brother who is in a gang. He gets nicked, he's picked up, he rats on the gang. They send a member to her place, right, where he's at, or was it his place? I forget. Each of them had their own separate place, but he was with her. Somebody comes to the door, she goes to the door. He asks, "Who's that?" The girl is like, "Oh, it's nobody," whatever the case is. The girl disappears. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. He's looking for her. He can't find her. She's gone for like a long period of time. He gets a pistol from somebody that he casually knows. He doesn't know this person, mind you. It's not his friend. Casually knows him. The guy's a dealer, and things just go from bad to worse. He goes to, I think it's North Camden. That's where it was. This is in the UK, by the way, if you don't know. Goes to North Camden, finds the girl. She's working the streets. He ends up shooting the pimp and running him over with his car. I don't think it was confirmed whether the guy died or not. That was one of the things I was like, they didn't really say it. But anyhow, takes the girl, takes the girl back to his place, tries to calm her down. And from there, you get to find out that she was put to work the streets as punishment for her brother snitching on the gang. And she decided that she was okay with doing it because she loves her brother. Let me tell you something. There have been plenty of films, movies. Well, this is a mini series. I think it's 4 parts, if I remember correctly. It's 4 parts. It's pretty good. Most of it was him standing up in court trying to defend himself, and to the end, you get to actually find out what really happened. And that's why I'm really making this video. He didn't know anything about this girl. He didn't know anything about her parents, about her brother, nothing like that when he got involved with her. He just saw her. And I understand because men are pretty visual, so girl looks good, and you approach her, whatever the case is. But in this day and age, like you really have to know more about a person, right? Because you see it all the time. I mean, if I go to my phone right now and I go to YouTube and I type in, let's say, shootings in the Bronx, right? You could do it yourself. There will be a list of shootings in the Bronx with multiple people involved. Like when I say multiple people, whatever video that was captured from the street, there will be multiple gunmen and people involved in each of those scenarios. So you have to figure all these families of these young men, right, that they are part of, are now a part of this because this is their relative. And unless they disown that person, right, all that drama is coming to their house. You understand what I'm saying? So you not only have to know who your children's friends are, you have to know who their friends are. And that goes for the same as if you meet a young woman, a young lady, you have to know who this person hangs out with. Now, I understand when you're young, it's one thing, you can be raised a certain way and still, you know, dabble on the dangerous side because, you have ties to certain people. And it happens that way. Sometimes you'll be raised, a straight-laced aristocrat type, but yet you have friends that, they take a walk on the wild side, those that might carry a firearm, those that are part of some gang or something. It depends. You meet people even even though you live in that upper echelon lifestyle, you happen to run into people, different walks of life. You might meet them in a mall, right? You might meet them through a mutual acquaintance and y'all hit it off. So it's sometimes inevitable the people that you come across, and you might make long lasting relationships with these people. True enough. But the thing that I do not like about this special was how, and I don't want to spoil it, but the lengths that this guy went to for this girl after she decided that she was going to actually work the streets as a prostitute. I mean, it's one thing to get roped into the gang and you have to be a courier for drugs, and we know women have gotten roped into things like that in the past. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily because of family, probably because they wanted to make some quick money, right? But if you're gonna get pulled into a gang and choose to work the streets, I would say you should have left her alone, right? And if you watch it, you will see the point where he comes to the story where he finds her and he finds out what she's doing, and he left, and then the sister is like, oh, you should have went after her, you should have. Why would you do that? All right, let's say you did not know that she had chosen. Let's say you assumed she was being forced. Once he took her back home, and he found that was her choice, I think it was time to let her go. And that's where the dysfunction comes in, because all of a sudden you have these feelings for this person, even if they're doing something that is completely in opposition to yourself, what you stand for, the relationship you're trying to build with them. You're gonna allow them to say that, oh yeah, I chose to do this and I have to do it. Like, okay, if that's your choice, then that's your choice. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And there's too many of these examples. Like, for instance, they show the story, right? It's the guy, his sister, his mother. Where's his father? There's no father in the picture. There's no, even the, and I don't want to give it away, but there's a guy who gets killed, right? His parents are in the court. This is the guy who gave him the pistol. So the guy's a dealer, right? His parents are Muslim, African Muslim. He's in court saying what the guy was doing. His parents are like, no, not my son. That's not my son. You don't even know your child, right? Now, I'm not saying that all parents know what their children are doing. I'm not saying that, because once your kid gets to a certain age, if they're living on their own, then you really can't know what they're doing. But let's take it in the realm of what we see today. There's young kids, 13, 14, 15, right? At that age, that's already involved in gangs, involved in shooting, stabbings, um, gang fights, right? And that's part of dysfunction. So you put this on television, right? How many have we seen before? Like all the so-called black films, like of the 90s, 2000s, where there's gang activity, man, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, all of what, like you see that the characters who have no father figure in their life, these are the ones that are always out there hanging on the corners with the guys that they should not be with. As I say, you run into people in different walks of life. Like, that's the neighborhood you grew up in. So, yeah, there might be some characters in that neighborhood that, you know, you happen to know. Some of them might be cool with you, and that was something that I went through myself. You know what I mean? Like, you know people that are in that walk of life, whether they sell drugs, whether they in a gang, they carry a gun, they in some type of disagreement with some other gang because of their affiliation, these kinds of things that young boys sometimes get into. And it's always apparent that the the boys that have a strong father figure in their life, whether it's their dad, um, and you should always have a strong father figure. Let me just say that. The only reason you should not is if your father's dead, right? Now I know a lot of times it doesn't happen that way because probably the mother made a bad choice of who she laid down with and had that child with. But in reality, you should have your father around, right? And your mother, and both of them have to give you both sides of life. You understand? So, like, you get a complete picture. You get things from your mom's perspective, and you get things from your dad's perspective. That's how it's supposed to be. When there's only one around, yeah, it creates dysfunction because guess what? You don't have that side of the story, right? You don't have this man telling you, how he came up, how he had to do things, how, his father had to tell him such and such and such things he did with his dad, and things that he's telling you now, he's telling you because these are things that his father told him. So you're always missing one side when you don't have the father around. And I think that is perpetuated a lot in mainstream media. Not I say that not to as I'm saying, criticize the film in terms of entertainment purposes. Yeah, it makes a great story. But then at the end, you find out that the story that this guy was saying while he was on trial is something that he made up to protect his sister. It turned out it's actually his sister who committed the crime. And she did that to protect him because of the situation that he was thrown into because of the girl. Now, we're talking about murder, kidnapping, extortion, drug dealing, everything that happened to him, this main character, was precipitated by him meeting that girl, getting involved with her, not knowing anything about her, her family ties and affiliations. And I think that's a mistake that people make right now. It's still happening right now. People are making bad choices just based on, oh, I see this guy, he has a nice car, he has all his jewelry on. Okay, yeah, he looks good. I like him. You don't know nothing else about him. Same thing with guys. See this girl, oh, she look good, she's pretty, she has her own hair, um, she she's athletic, whatever the case is, and you're head over heels for this person you get together. What about background? What kind of family? Was this person's mother like? Was their father like? They have their father growing up. What kind of family values? Like, nobody gets into that stuff. And that stuff is important. Because if you want to build something with a woman, these are things you want to know. You want to build something with a guy, you got to know about him. You got to know about his background, about his family structure, how he was raised, what his morals and ethics are as a person, and what these morals and ethics are that he's going to pass on to the child that you might have with him. And because that is not happening, that is where the dysfunction comes in. And people play on it, yeah, because it sells, you know? And that's my takeaway from it. Like, we've seen all these black films where the father figure is absent and the boys run wild. If it's the girls, get pregnant early, and all the negativity that comes along with it. And I think this is just more of the same. Not to say that acting wasn't good. Like I said, the entertainment value is there. But what's the message? This man had no father on time. Listen, um, I don't care what your sister or your mother says. That girl is bad news. You can find somebody better. Because the guy worked at a dealership selling high-end cars. He was making money, had his own place, doing his own thing. I'm pretty sure he could have got with a different girl. Probably that looked better too. Drove a BM, ended up hitting the freaking pimp that he shot with the damn BM, dented it and whatever. Like, you know, before he brought this woman to his life, he was living a pretty good life. But because he allowed that dysfunction into his life, murder, kidnapping, drug dealing, all these things came with it. Right? So, you know, be careful who you align yourself with, who you get in bed with. I think that's the message. Right? The overall message is, ask questions. You have to know things about people. If you're not interested in anything past a one night stand, then it is what it is. That's fine. But if you're interested in building with somebody, you got to know more than just the surface level stuff. So I think that's good advice to anyone that hears it. You know, if you have a comment, leave a comment. Um, I probably will continue with this series, maybe one more. I still have to get the names of those movies that I wanted to post, but I had it and then disappeared. I only have like four on the list, but I think that should be sufficient. So until next time, I'm out. Like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever it is, do what you do. I'll see you next time.